Some people are starting their motorcycle journey with a very limited budget, and sometimes people aren't comfortable going out and financing a brand new motorcycle off the showroom floor. In this day and age, can you even find a decent roadworthy motorcycle for less than, say, $3,000? I'm not talking about a super clapped out Craigslist crap bike, but a bike that is safe, reliable, and a good platform for a new rider to get their toes wet without selling the farm. Let's find out. The first bike on the list today hails from Craigslist, listed in Wake Forest, North Carolina. It was also listed on our most recent, most beginner-friendly motorcycles ever made video, which I believe to be a sign. It is, of course, a Honda Rebel 250. This bike is from 2009 and has only 800 miles. If that doesn't scream perfect beginner bike, I'm not sure what does. This bike looks to be perfectly clean, and considering its ultra low mileage, it probably hasn't seen too many hazards. It also comes with a few extras like a luggage rack and a backrest, which always comes in handy if you have to return some library books or pick up a rack of ribs from the butcher. The Rebel is a super famous beginner platform, and these bikes are tried and true. The only thing you're going to want to look out for a bike that's been sitting for that long with that little miles is to make sure that someone put it away correctly. They're powered by a little air-cooled parallel twin engine that makes about 16 horsepower and 12 foot-pounds of torque. It's not going to blow your pants off, but a clean, reliable, and rideable bike for $3,000 is perfect for a beginner who's just trying to get their feet wet. Not to mention it is listed for $3,000. Maybe the seller would take even less. There's only one way to find out. And any cash saved for the purchase could go towards leather tassels for the ends of the handlebars. Every Rebel 250 needs to be adorned in tassels. I've found another beginner bike holy grail. It's a Suzuki SV650 for $2,800, located just outside of Nashville, Tennessee. Guys, I don't want to hear it anymore in the comments that you can't find SV650s for under $3,000. I literally just did it. The SV650 is an A-tier beginner bike and has really the ability to open up so many avenues for a new rider. It has enough power to keep you humble yet excitable. They're dirt cheap and parts are readily available, and they're kind of like a Swiss Army knife of motorcycling. They can be a daily commuter, they can be a track toy. Hell, you could probably spec it out into an ADV touring bike and hit the open road with it if you wanted to. This bike is from 2007 too, so it's even fuel injected. So you don't have to deal with cold starts or other carburetor quirks like rejetting. And we all know Suzuki is slow to update their bikes. 2007 SV650 and 2017 SV650, there honestly aren't that many noteworthy differences. These bikes are powered by a 645cc V-twin that makes 73 horsepower and 47 foot-pounds of torque. In the 2007 model, these bikes have preload adjustable front and rear suspension and dual brakes in the front. The SV650 has been hailed by many as the best all-around package for an inexpensive beginner motorcycle that you can keep for a long time. And this listing right here is the perfect example. It may be 15 years old, but it looks about as clean as a sub $3,000 SV can be. Not bad at all. The Kawasaki KLR is a dual sport pseudo-adventure style bike that has a long history of big, beefy, unkillable machines, so by their nature, oftentimes secondhand KLRs are found in wretched conditions as if they've been victim to all sorts of unspeakable acts, or more realistically, they were ridden off-road, dropped, broken, fixed, modified, ran low on oil, jumped off a cliff, and so on and so forth. And while KLRs are hard to kill, they aren't always found in the best overall condition, but sometimes you can find a nice, clean, used one with some tasteful upgrades and for a decent price as well. And that's what we have here, a 2007 KLR with 23,000 miles listed for $2,950. 23,000 miles can be considered higher miles for some motorcyclists, but I wouldn't let it scare me away from a KLR from a responsible owner. Especially considering that this bike is 15 years old, it's better for a motorcycle to be ridden than spend its whole life sitting around rotting tires and clogging carbs. This bike has newer Shinko tires, a second set of off-road Dunlops, and a new battery. And of course, it has already seen the doohickey mod. Still don't know what that means, and I'm also still too afraid to ask. This KLR has already gotten some modifications to make it more adventure-ready, like a larger 6.6-gallon gas tank, handguards, and a skid plate. Overall, it's a pretty nice package for under $3,000. But not every bike you find will have all the best mods already done to it. Sometimes you'll need to put on some new tires or install some more comfortable grips or any other myriad of potential modifications and updates a motorcycle may need. That's why we made our own store, shop.yamanoob.co. I wanted to build a site where I could provide the best products for all types of riders, so we only work with companies who I personally endorse. We have a specialized motorcycle tools, all sorts of riding gear, and parts for all styles of motorcycles. You can use our year, make, and model feature to find the parts that will fit perfectly for your bike. So whether you need to change your oil, replace your chain, or get some new tires, you can find what you need at shop.yamanoob.co. Plus, this store is an extension of our community, so as a bonus, every dollar spent on the store earns you an entry to win one of our giveaway motorcycles. We always have a bunch of cool bikes to give away, and is one of my favorite things we do here. So if your bike needs a little TLC, head over to shop.yemeni.co to make sure you have what you need to get the job done right. Now back to the video. The next bike on the list today is a 2016 CBR 300R for sale in Richardson, Texas for a measly $1,999. That is a bargain if everything else checks out. It has over 10,000 miles, but as long as this was maintained properly, it should be fine for another 10K, no problem. It is a Honda after all. The CBR 300R is powered by the same 286cc single-cylinder engine found in Honda's CRF 300L and Rebel 300. This is a fun beginner sport bike that won't set your hair on fire, but it can be a good platform for new riders to practice their fundamentals and get their feet wet. The CBR 300R makes around 30 horsepower and 20 foot-pounds of torque. It has incredibly beginner-friendly ergonomics with a pretty upright seating position, sub 31-inch seat height, and 360-pound curb weight. And it might not be the fastest beginner bike or the most attractive for that matter, but remember, this bike is for sale for less than $2,000. These beginner sport bikes are kind of a dime a dozen as people inevitably upgrade to a bigger bike after a year or so as long as you can find one that doesn't look like it was ridden by 50,000 miles by Dante through the 9 circles of hell, it can be a worthwhile buy for a new rider on a tight budget. Also, let's just take a moment that nowadays, it's hard to find a good bicycle for less than $2,000. The fact that you can buy a whole motorcycle for less than $2,000 is awesome. Maybe you don't want to get the traditional beginner sport bike because it doesn't fit your avant-garde and esoteric lifestyle. Maybe you're a little older and you can handle something that might require more specialized love and attention. I present to you a 2000 Aprilia Pagazzo for sale for $2,500 in Grand Junction, Colorado. Looking for an inexpensive adventure-y dual sport bike, but you don't want a KLR or cheap dual sport with luggage racks? Well, bikes like this Aprilia Pagazzo are exactly what you want to look out for. It is quite a cool bike and clear predecessor to adventure-style motorcycles from Aprilia like the Touareg 660. The Pagazzo is powered by a 659cc liquid-cooled single-cylinder engine made by the Austrian company Rotax. It makes about 50 horsepower and 45 foot-pounds of torque. As far as adventure bikes go, the Pagazzo 650 is pretty approachable as well. It has a low 30.7-inch seat height and weighs just 375 pounds. But this bike comes with a bunch of hard cases, which if loaded to their full capacity for long-haul adventure, may tip the scales a little bit higher. This bike listed as 41,000 miles, so I'm unsure of what maintenance is to be expected, but the seller says that the carbs have recently been cleaned and it is running well. And for just $2,500, this whole bike costs as much as a few accessories for a BMW GS. Seriously. It comes with hard luggage, an aftermarket seat, heated grips as well. If you're looking to get your feet wet in the adventure space, but you don't want to spend $15,000 to $30,000 and you want something a little bit cooler than a KLR, keep your eyes peeled for a bike like the Aprilia Pagazzo. Another motorcycle that is prone to the abuse of its owner is the Harley-Davidson Sportster. Whether it be through poor maintenance or just most distasteful mods possible, finding a clean secondhand Sportster for a reasonable price can sometimes be a bit of an undertaking. But I have found one of those rare gems. A 2005 Sportster 1200 with only 4,400 miles listed for just $3,000. This bike has had just one owner and it looks like he pretty much threw the entire Screamin' Eagles parts catalog at it. It has stainless steel brake lines, aftermarket air cleaner and exhaust, cams, ported and polished heads, and a tuned card and all the receipts and paperwork to prove it. That's the most important part. You want to make sure this stuff was done professionally. The paint and chrome all looks to be in just about perfect condition as well. These two-tone Sportsters are classic looking if I do say so myself. In stock form, these Sportster 1200s make about 70 horsepower and 70 foot-pounds of torque, but with all the work this guy has done, I'm pretty safe to assume it's making at least 85 horsepower. It seems that much time, money, and energy spent should net you at least another 15 horsepower, but Harley people are often hard to understand, so who really knows? The only downside seems to be that it needs a choke cable replacement and potentially rocker box gaskets, which leads me to believe it has a small oil leak. But hey, it's a Harley-Davidson. It's supposed to leak oil according to those who are well versed in the brand. But really, these barn-find Sportsters are kind of gems of the used motorcycle market. They're old enough that they're inexpensive to work on, and while being easy enough and new enough that not every single bolt or piece of rubber has corroded or broken through. This is a pretty neat find. Thanks for making it to the end of a video. This was just an opportunity to showcase what sort of bikes are available for the super price conscious rider. Obviously, the results will vary based on where you live, but you never know what gems you might find. Take a second to subscribe if you liked the video, and I will catch you on the next one. Fact: Wally Amos of famous Amos Cookies was formerly a talent agent who discovered and signed Simon and Garfunkel and represented artists like Diana Ross and the Supremes and Marvin Gaye. He attracted clients by sending chocolate chip cookies along with his invitation to meet. Goodbye. Well, look at you. You've made it to the end of another Yammy Noob video. You should consider yourself pretty lucky because I have curated this one right over here for you to continue watching. It's probably just as good as the one you just saw. Unless you hated the one you just saw. I don't know, maybe leave me a comment down below about how much you hated it as well too. Or just keep watching this one. Make sure you keep watching Yammy Noob. Don't forget to keep watching Yammy Noob. That's the most important thing. Keep watching Yammy Noob.